Hello, everyone, and welcome back to NetApp On Air. I am your host, Nick Howell. Thank you so much for joining us today for this very special day covering the announcements that we made yesterday. As always, you can come and join us over in our Discord community, so head over to netappdiscord.com, or if you know Discord, discord.gg/NetApp. You can join our community of almost 5,000 technicians and practitioners that are in there, as well as staff, engineers, support, and even some of our executives hang out in there. So make sure you come and join us over in Discord. It is the place to be. It is the NetApp community. Among other things that we have going on out in the world, that is where you want to be. We're going to talk all kinds of cool stuff this year around our new technology releases, our upcoming event Insight later this year, and much, much more. Deeper dives on some of our technical solutions and covering some of the stuff like today that you're going to hear from NetApp throughout the year. So make sure you come and join us over at netappdiscord.com. Also, come and subscribe to us here on the YouTube channel. Follow us over on Twitch. Twitch, I see you guys over there. How you doing? Say hi in chat for us. And those of us watching on LinkedIn, thank you very much for tuning in. We are across the board here with you guys to bring you the latest and greatest of everything that's going on at NetApp, from deep dive technical conversations to new announcements, which is what we're going to be covering today. So today I have an interesting fellow that I wanted to bring on. And I'm excited to have him on because for a while there, about 5 or 6 years ago, he and I were in kind of a beard competition. And this is going to be fun. So currently, mine did exceed the length of this one. So I do refer to him as the second best beard at NetApp currently. But he is our Senior Director of Solutions Marketing, Mr. Ingo Fuchs. Ingo, welcome to the program. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for bringing and blessing everyone and gracing us with your beautiful, beautiful beard there on your face.
Well, thank you, number one beard.
So you are based in Boulder. I see you're in the office there. I love the Boulder facility. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. If any of our partners or employees haven't had a chance to go visit the Boulder facility, I absolutely recommend people head out there, not just for the beauty and the weather, but the food and the drink and everything about Boulder I absolutely love. So uses it as an opportunity to get out there and visit Ingo and other folks there in our Boulder office.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I mean, the views from here are absolutely amazing when you do actually get a chance to look out the window for a change, which, you should probably all do more often. But
absolutely. The few times I've been there, there's a really nice patio veranda that's on the outside, and you can literally stand there and look up at the Rockies. And it's one of the most beautiful sights I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. Ingo, why are you here today? We made some pretty big announcements yesterday that we wanted to cover. The good friend of the show, Mr. Jeff Baxter, could not be here this week because he is previously indisposed. But he definitely recommended that you would be able to cover the announcements for him, and I wanted to introduce you to all of the viewers and the fans of the show and get you engaged in some of this. So why don't we kick things off? But before we put any slides up or anything, like what's the overall takeaway people should have on what we're doing and why we made these kinds of announcements? What's the temperature of things from your perspective?
yeah, I think actually the response to the announcements has been absolutely incredible, both from analysts, from journalists, as well as from customers and partners, and of course internally, but that's a little bit easier. But we are our own best critics, right? So when your own folks, your sellers, your tech teams are excited about what you're announcing, you're doing something right. And you're doing something that our customers and partners have been asking about. And really, most of what the payload is in the announcement is really split into two. One is our biggest business opportunity, which is AI, right? No big surprise there. And also the biggest business threat, which is cyber resilience and cyber threats. And so these are really the two key themes for this particular announcement yesterday.
Awesome.
And what I'm talking about today.
It's hard to get up in the morning and go through a day without hearing artificial intelligence or AI this and that. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that we have centered around is it's kind of a phrase that I've started using is no data, no AI. And at the end of the day, if you don't have reliable, secure, efficient data storage for those applications, for those mechanisms, for those language models to use, you don't really have a good foundation to build upon and start with. So all things end up coming back to the data and the storage and how it's managed and how it's leveraged and how it's used in order to facilitate some of those things that we use in business to turn into information. So I love the initiative that we have around making sure that data is definitely a key part of that foundation when we're doing anything to do with AI.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you don't have models, you don't have vectors, you don't have data, whether it's public LLMs or it's your own private proprietary data, it doesn't matter how much compute you have. If you don't have data to operate against, there's nothing you can do. And from a cyber resilience perspective, the storage infrastructure really is your last line of defense, right? There's a lot of layers to protecting your data and your business, but once hackers get to your data, then things get really, really bad.
Right.
And that's where we really want to help our customers and want to have better offerings together with our partners.
Absolutely. Well, I want to get out of the way here and let you take us through the announcements that we went over yesterday. And I just want to preface this by saying to all of the viewers, like, there's a lot in here. We're not going to get to all of the details of every single nuance of every single little thing, but I will make the commitment to all of you that we're going to break them down into their own individual episodes, and so that we can take deeper dives on each of the things as we go through these. So don't make Ingo over-explain everything because if you'll bear with me over the next month or so, we're going to have everybody come on and talk super deep technical details about all of the things that are part of this announcement. So, Ingo, the floor is yours. I have just come back from vacation. I have not seen this stuff yet. I'm in any kind of detail. I'm as much a viewer here as all of our viewers are currently. So I'm excited to see what was announced, what we went through, and all kinds of stuff. So take it away, sir.
Yeah, no, sounds great. Thank you very much, Nick, for giving me the opportunity to give the brief overview. Certainly, there are things that are like one bullet on a slide. You could spend hours and hours on it and really going into it. But I'll try to kind of cover the highlights and kind of point out what's really new and why it's relevant as much as I can. So the announcement was yesterday. We have tons of materials, online as well, and I know the Discord chat is there to really click deeper as well. So as I mentioned, we have two main themes. One is around AI and the requirements for AI. And what you will see consistently is a theme in my section on AI. It's going to be about simplicity, it's going to be about performance, and going to be about security. All three of these angles need to be addressed when you're looking into AI. And you're not just doing AI washing, but you're actually using AI in production environments. You have very specific requirements that you need to meet for your operations and for your data scientists and data engineers. The other aspect is I want to talk about cyber resiliency. And actually, it's interesting because on the one hand, AI actually makes the threat even greater that we're getting out of ransomware attacks and things like that. But at the same time, AI can help. And so I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing to leverage AI to make your data safer and to make sure that NetApp is the most secure place for your data in the world.
Awesome.
So let me just dive right in and talk about AI. I just want to kind of reset a little bit in terms of when we talk about AI, like what are the key benefits and how do we as NetApp think about AI? I think it's no surprise to anybody, right? As you pointed out, Nick, earlier, everybody's talking about AI all the time. And so there's a lot of AI washing going on and people throwing the AI sticker on everything. And I'll try to be really precise about, well, this is really AI and this is how we're using it. But we have hundreds and hundreds of customers, and there are certain themes that we're seeing that comes back from industry research and our own research. And what we're seeing is that it's just a tremendous opportunity around boosting productivity, around creating better customer experiences, which is something I care about. I don't want to be on the phone for 2 hours to get a simple answer. I'd rather just engage with a chatbot, right? So AI can help our customers, really transform their businesses. But there's also some risks, right? So one of them is that more and more what we're hearing is that individuals, employees are putting proprietary company data into public tools that, maybe they shouldn't do, right? And so as AI becomes more and more pervasive, the question is, how can you give access to your employees to these AI tools with all of the data that they should be using while protecting the data, securing it, and making sure that your proprietary information doesn't enter the public realm? And that's going to be a really big topic, I think, for years to come. And so when we're looking at AI, there are really three major hurdles. One is, well, data is everywhere, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because on the one hand, you might have on-premises compute you want to leverage, you might have cloud workloads you want to leverage. You don't know where your compute is going to come from tomorrow, right? So you need to make sure that you can put the data where it's needed, when it's needed, in the right place, keep it secure, keep it available, keep it at high performance. So when you're looking at hybrid multi-cloud environments with an on-premises infrastructure and one or multiple public clouds, you need an intelligent data infrastructure that makes it very easy and simple to keep your data in different places. And silos and bottlenecks are a huge hurdle for AI workloads, right? When you have massive data sets and you now need to move them or create a copy of them. So the more intelligence you can put into your data infrastructure to elegantly and simply move data, make data available, whether it's through replication or caching or other methods, those are all really important tools to have in your toolbox. And then, as I mentioned before, of course, once your data is gone, you have a problem, right? So data is constantly under threat and needs to be protected.
How is that different from how we've looked at kind of data resiliency in the past? I don't know that for us, it's not, we've been doing these kinds of things for decades. There's not a lot of net new here for NetApp, and I think it's just a different kind of protection. I don't want to downplay it. I don't want to undermine the effort, right? But at the same time, people need to know that this is bread and butter stuff for NetApp. This is the stuff this is one of the reasons I fell in love with ONTAP and NetApp solutions 20 years ago, was because we were already doing, I was just doing them with VMware and Oracle, for example, right? Mm-hmm. So a rogue DBA that writes the wrong SQL script that would go in and delete data or drop tables out of an Oracle database, we had snapshots of it. You could instantly recover. So the point I'm getting at is, like, the principles are the same when it comes to it. The mechanisms to trigger those sorts of things might be massaged and changed a little bit, but at the end of the day, this is bread and butter ONTAP stuff. It's what makes ONTAP ONTAP, and it's what makes NetApp NetApp. And so I'm just harping on this because this isn't some new crazy invention we came out with in the last 6 months. No, this is foundational to what makes NetApp and ONTAP amazing.
Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to put that out there.
No, I absolutely agree with you. Foundationally speaking, this is core technology that we have had in many cases for decades, right? So the principles of snapshots, of highly efficient, highly secure snip mirrors, of caching, and all of those things are really, really the same in a lot of ways. What's different is, in many ways, the integration with ecosystem partners, with ISVs, with industry leaders, to make sure that everything becomes simple and predictable and turnkey as much as possible. There are new threats, of course. They're always evolving. But yeah, the fundamental technology behind it, that is rock solid technology that tens of thousands of customers are using. So this isn't like some startup-y kind of thing where there's a lot of risk, but rather this is the world runs on NetApp, right? So we have this technology out there, the data is protected, we have a lot of experience with that. Really the new things are the integrations, with partners and things like that. That's new.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, to your point, Nick, right? So when we look at simplicity and performance and security, kind of the key themes, those have always been, things that NetApp, was really focused on, and it just continues to be really important for these newer use cases as well. So if we think about, data management simplicity, having ONTAP on premises and in the cloud makes it very, very easy to provision data in the right place at the right time to wherever you choose to run your compute. Making sure cloning. So this is, Nick, I know you and I have worked a little bit together on DevOps use cases just a few years ago. And when for a lot of people, DevOps was like a very new principle, a very new way of thinking about how to develop and how to QA test and how to run operations. And so when you look at DevOps, it's very similar. The language changes, but then suddenly people recognize, wait a second, you can clone in seconds. You can revert back to a previous version in less than a minute. That's amazing. How long have you had that? Oh, about 30 years.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of rediscovering the impact of traditional storage, data management technologies, and using them in new contexts.
Yeah, a lot of the differences that we have now is just the evolution of DevOps. So the layer of DevOps that got placed on top of the foundational elements. So being able to use REST APIs instead of Zappies, and being able to use automation workflows, PowerShell, Ansible, and Terraform to automate a lot of this infrastructure and these processes. Whether you're doing unit testing, whether you're doing QA, QC, whether you're doing again, I'll use the DBA example. You want to stand up a copy of production Oracle and the stack of volumes for it in a minute? Okay. So here's your new mount points, go. And it gets back to basic storage efficiencies and the speed at which we can do that. The difference now, today, is that we can do all of that in a very automated fashion without the need for an auxiliary application like the old Snap managers or something like that would do that automation for us. Now it's openly available via REST and other mechanisms. So that's the evolution of it for me. It's not revolutionary in any way. We've been doing it. I was doing it for my DBAs in 2008 with Snap Manager for Oracle 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago. So that's going back to the point I was harping on before. And you're echoing. This is not any kind of new thing that is changing the way that we manage storage. It's just a way to make it easier for newcomers that are more comfortable working in code. If they want to use infrastructure as code, if they want to use DevOps automation workflows and those sorts of practices, sure, okay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So you have like different tools, right? So people might now use Jupyter notebooks. Like, great, right. No problem. Here you go. Sure. And so it's just important to keep up with the tools that our customers are using and making sure that we integrate and make sure it all works and it's predictable and secure and performant. But yeah, I echo what you've said earlier about DevOps as well. And it feels sometimes in conversation with data scientists and data engineers, where I'm sitting in a room and you have one group sitting on one side and you have the IT folks sitting on the other side, and you're just kind of sitting in there, you're translating language, right? You're like the Google Translate sitting in the middle and helping people understand each other. It's like, oh, this is what you're trying to do. Oh, we have this thing called snapshots that we can do, or we have flex clones, and we have snap mirror, and we have flex cache, right? We can do all of these things that you're asking for with technology that's been around for decades, which sometimes for somebody that is trying to be on the bleeding edge of technology is like, no, I want to do something completely new. It's like, no, this works. This is proven, this works. This will beat your new stuff any day.
Yeah. Anytime you get something like ONTAP that has been given sort of the gold stamp from the 3-letter agencies, the NSA saying it's the most secure storage operating system, all of those accolades that we've achieved, you don't want to start ripping that stuff out and replacing it, especially when it's foundational like that. We can have as many tools, or you can write your own tools now that we have full REST compatibility in the latest version of ONTAP. So those are things to think about. You're doing the same things, you're just executing them in different, maybe more automated fashions than you would have traditionally.
Yeah. So let me try to get back on my track here because
sorry.
15 minutes in. Wow, the time flies. We're having fun. All I need is a beer in hand.
Yes.
So, performance is an obvious one, right? So that's always important, not just the performance of like a specific box or a cloud service, but also by eliminating silos, by eliminating data movement from one place to another, you accelerate your business outcomes. And the business performance ultimately what matters, not the IOPS and all that kind of stuff. So if you're not even moving data in the first place, you've already accelerated your workflow. That's critical. And then when it comes to security, there are some AI-specific things like traceability. Do you have auditable, versions of your data that you can go back to? And how hard is it to do that? Like traditionally, if you do like a baseline backup or something like that once a week, that isn't the kind of thing that you want to do in AI worlds, right? Here, it's more like, okay, hey, I'm going to transform my data. I want to take a snapshot before I do that. It's like, 1 second, 2 seconds. Oh, it's done. Okay, cool. Let me do the next thing, right? And I know I can go back to that. I can audit that. I can trace the changes. I can see what has changed. So that's all very important. And of course, cybersecurity, because you're going to have proprietary data and proprietary models that you don't want your competition to suddenly get a hold of and kind of do your business better than you do because they got your data without having to pay for it. And so that's critical.
Anyone that's ever managed a piece of networking gear out there probably knows the command reload in 10. And that's what I think about when I think about snapshots for this kind of stuff. You're going to make a configuration change. You want something to be able to revert back to, right? At its core essence, that's what a snapshot is. It does a lot more than that, and it enables a lot more than that in other auxiliary ways. But that's the core of what it is. It gives you that reload in 10 functionality that you can just go back to if you bork it, if you screw something up. It gives you a place to go back to. So yeah.
Yep.
I love it.
RPO and RTO if you want to go old school.
There you go.
Yep. All right. So as I mentioned before, this is a marketing slide. I'll go quick, but we have hundreds and hundreds of customers in a lot of different industries that benefit from using AI on top of NetApp. Something that's really near and dear to my heart, living in Colorado, is fighting forest fires. Right. I've lived right next to burn scars and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to see what our customers are able to do with AI. And so it's not just us, right? As I mentioned before, our partners are absolutely key. So today I'm going to focus on what we're doing with NVIDIA. So there are a number of announcements there. And of course, NVIDIA, if you're in AI, you should have heard that name maybe. And of course, our partners across on-premises as well as the public clouds as well. So let's get into the announcement on the AI side. So I'm going to talk about AIPod, which is really the rebranding of ONTAP AI, which is a little bit more accurate because it involves hardware. So we shouldn't call it just ONTAP AI. Specifically AIPod with NVIDIA. I'm going to talk about OVX, which is a really, really interesting new trend. And then FlexPod, as well as a little hyperscaler update as well.
Nice.
So AIPod, here it is, DGX H100 certified. So this is essentially your NetApp certified, base pod with DGX H100. We also continue to support the A100. So don't worry if you have existing infrastructure. This is simply a rebrand of what we have been shipping for years together jointly with NVIDIA. And the key point here is that this is really a turnkey solutions so that our customers have the predictability of knowing, okay, this stuff actually works together. I don't want to waste a bunch of time doing testing and building stuff from scratch. I want to make sure that my AI solution that I'm implementing, that it works, that it's compatible, that it integrates into the standard tool sets that I use. And so AIPod is NVIDIA validated, it's certified, that is your base pod with the latest hardware from NVIDIA.
Gotcha. So this is it's basically a FlexPod just with DGXs. Is that the essence of it?
So this is with DGXs. It's not quite converged infrastructure, which is FlexPod. It's a little bit more flexible. So you determine your workload, and then you say, okay, based on this workload, here is the percentages of compute and storage that you need to meet that workload. But essentially, it's more of a certified solution versus a converged infrastructure.
Got it.
So
okay.
Every customer has kind of different requirements for that. But I'll talk about FlexPod AI in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about OVX. Now, this is really all about the topic of retrieval augmented generation, which is a term that's been around for, I think, about 3-4 years now. And the abbreviation RAG is maybe not very marketable, but it's really about the idea of using LLM and applying the learnings of LLM to your own proprietary enterprise data and making it relevant for your business, driving the outcomes that you require for your environment. So if you're looking at customer service, chatbots for interaction with your customers, or if you're looking at your knowledge base and being able to find articles that describe on how to solve a particular problem, things like that, that really requires a combination of one or multiple LLM and your own customer, proprietary data. And so NVIDIA really pushes the OVX architecture for that to solve that use case and to have the right balance of compute, memory, and storage. And so we are certified already with OVX as part of this effort. And so we're right on the bleeding edge of making sure we're always right there with our partner NVIDIA in being certified and making sure that our customers know, okay, this stuff actually works together. So there's no risk in rolling out these infrastructure products.
Yeah, and so just to clarify one thing, I'm going to parrot it back to you so I make sure I completely understand it. This is for the use cases where a customer wants to really leverage their own data, basically train on their own corporate data to build their own in-house chatbots for support, for business intelligence, for any of that kind of stuff. This is not a chat GPT thing. This is more of you're using your own kind of data that you have that you've built up over the years, decades potentially, and you can point your stack at it to be able to learn on that and then use your own tools internally. Am I hearing that? Is that really what this is about?
Yeah, it's going in the right direction, right? So it's essentially, in a very simplified way, think about it like you're adopting ChatGPT and all the greatness it has, but you're applying it against your own data.
Right.
To bring the customer responses back to your employees, your customers, your vendors, etc.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you're not training it on the entirety of the internet like the other GPT transformers that are out there. Like, so you're basically pointing it and training it on whatever corporate data you have. That's the the key difference.
Exactly, and that's a big trend that we are seeing right now, where a lot of our customers, they want to leverage the work that others have done in building these LLMs, but they want to introduce their own vectors and apply it against their own data. And that is really where we're seeing a huge movement. Of course, with AI, everything is changing almost on a daily basis, but that is a very, very large trend. So for folks that haven't heard about RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation yet, I would highly recommend. There are great articles online to just kind of better understand what this is. If I was a betting man, I would say we'll hear a lot about this over the next few months and years as enterprises really take advantage of AI to run their business and not just make it a project somewhere on the side, like a little experiment.
Yeah. The enterprise can traditionally lag 3 to 5 years behind where the industry is. So everything you hear about right now is OpenAI, ChatGPT, the new announcements from Google Cloud and AWS Bedrock and all. That's what you're hearing from the industry right now. Once the enterprise really starts adopting this stuff over the next few years, I think this is going to be one of the, if not the biggest use case for businesses and companies to take advantage of the benefits of artificial intelligence. So the industry's grinding it out right now on the bleeding edge, and the enterprise is kind of sitting back going, okay, which part can we use? And I think we're going to see that adoption kind of ramp up over the next few years.
Yep. Yeah, and I think we'll see some large enterprises that are very data heavy that might have a combination of DGXs and OVX infrastructures in their environment, build their own models, but also then apply custom data to it. We'll see other customers that don't require large DGX deployments, but they will want to do the customization through the OVX architecture. So I think NVIDIA is on the right path there to meet the needs of their customers. And yes, they're probably ahead of the large percentage of enterprises, but we have certainly a lot of customers that are right there on the edge. They see the competitive advantage of using these architectures.
Absolutely.
So you brought up FlexPod. So guess what? FlexPod. And FlexPod is great, right? Because this is your easy button for rolling out converged infrastructure into your environment with predictable performance. It's secure. This is the converged infrastructure architecture that's jointly driven by NetApp and Cisco. And we have heard, a lot from Cisco over the last few months. They have a much stronger partnership with NVIDIA today than they had before. They have made huge commitments to working with NVIDIA. So this is really bringing together, the FlexPod architecture with the NVIDIA, AI for enterprise software platform with the NVIDIA GPUs. And then we have expanded it to support both OpenShift and Rancher. And we have done tons of work together with Cisco on scaling and benchmarking documentation to help our customers understand how they can map their GPU-intensive applications to those FlexPod architectures to take out the guessing. Okay, do I need one? Do I need two? How big do they need to be so that they don't have to do these experiments? We have done that for our customers and documented it.
Absolutely. And in an ideal world, you would see potentially a situation where you'd have a FlexPod with your chosen compute, be that UCS, and then complementary right next to it. Should you need GPUs, you can have a DGX stack that's right next to that the Rancher and all of the OpenShift, whatever platform you decide to operate that on, can then leverage the compute resources, can leverage the DGXs in an AIPod or that's sitting right next to that. And I think there's this beautiful complementary solution here between these two things where they really go together.
Yeah, and having the same storage operating system makes our customers' life a lot easier, right? Because it's just very easy to get access to data, to move data, to cache data, transport data, whether it's on premises, between different environments, or into the public cloud or back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So talking about public cloud, we are listening to our customers, right? So AWS as a product that I think most people are probably familiar with that are on this. Amazon, sorry, let me step back here. AWS FSx for NetApp ONTAP. I did not name it. So a lot of our customers are using FSx for NetApp ONTAP because of the scale, both in capacity and performance. And so last year at reInvent, AWS announced the expansion to go to 6 HA pairs. So now we can scale to 12 HA pairs, which gives you a petabyte scale namespace and gives you double the throughput and double the IOPS than you were able to get before. So that just came out about a week ago. And so that is a massive scale in the public cloud. And of course, because it is based on ONTAP technology, you have the highly efficient snap mirror technology. You have the ability to take snapshots, to take clones, and all of that ONTAP goodness with it.
I remember doing a video with my good buddy Andy Krudge, who's the principal PM for FSx ONTAP over at AWS, back at reInvent in December. So I'm very excited to see this finally be available. I have seen the absolute explosion of Bedrock over in Amazon. The interest in that is through the roof. And so being able to put in SageMaker workflows, feeding Bedrock with data that lives in a petabyte scale instance of FSx ONTAP, talk about a perfect triforce right there of all things coming together. If you're interested in doing AI workloads in the clouds, it's going to be one of the best kind of solutions out there for it, because it's baked, it's mature, it's ready to go. So if you don't have the millions and millions of dollars to stand up the infrastructure yourself internally, like we were just talking about with that stuff, this is an option for you. This is one of the best options out there, honestly, for just using pure cloud pay-as-you-go resources.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And our customers will make the decision if any, they want to run in the public cloud or want to run on premises. Our job is to make sure that they have the capability to do so.
Yeah,
it's a very simple approach from my perspective. So that was the AI part. Any further comments before I move on to Cyrus?
No, we just had some love getting sent over from Cork, Ireland. So yeah, hi Roger, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us, and I'm very excited to. I haven't got a chance to come over to Cork yet. That's another place I haven't been to Boulder since 2019, since before the pandemic, and I haven't been to Cork yet. So very excited to make my way over there, get to meet everybody, and say hi. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, I'll come with you to Cork. I haven't been there either.
Oh, man, I'm so excited. I love Ireland. It's one of my favorite countries in the world. I do miss the days 10 years ago when we were doing Insights in Dublin for a couple of years there before we moved to Berlin.
I think that was my favorite Insight, those two, right in the middle of Dublin, right walking distance to everything. That was great.
Oh, my heart, the pubs, the atmosphere, the people. The people are so nice, and that's just one of the takeaways for me. The Guinness factory is absolutely a high point. But yes, I can't wait to get back over to Ireland.
All right. So cyber-resiliency, let's enter the next part of the presentation. So I don't think it's a big surprise for anybody here that cyber threats are the #1 business risk that our customers are worried about. This is based on statistics from Allianz, but it just overall, we see it over and over and over again. Of course, the threats are getting worse. And AI is part of it, right? Because AI makes cyber threats even more critical. And so the question is, can we leverage AI to maybe help? And I'll talk about this in just a few minutes. So for us, from a NetApp perspective, when we talk about cyber resiliency, there are really 4 aspects to it. One is ransomware protection. So protecting your data detecting attacks, and recovering after something might have happened. Disaster recovery to make sure you continue operations even if you have an outage. Backup and recovery to protect and retain your data. And of course, governance and compliance. And so today, for the announcement that we did yesterday, I want to talk about the first three and just provide some updates on these different areas.
Okay.
So, but if you look a little bit deeper into data protection with ONTAP specifically, there are a number of things, and to your earlier point, Nick, a lot of this has been around for many, many years, right? So Policy Engine, we literally have over 3,000 different file types where we know these are just malicious file types, so we're going to block them. We have integration into antivirus tools and all of that, and that has been around for a very long time. That's not going away. But then you have the ability, we have been talking a lot about snapshots, making snapshots tamper-proof to make sure that data cannot be altered or destroyed or deleted, without the proper authorization or at all, depending on your requirements in your organization. Another threat angle that became very popular a few years ago was rogue admins, whether that is somebody got access to admin's login credentials, which is of course very bad, or maybe you have a disgruntled employee with administration privileges. And we have seen that. At least I know customers where they had a rogue admin come in and actually delete data on their last day on the job. And number one, that's criminal. Number two, it's immoral, but it happens, right? So you need to protect against that. And so multi-admin verify was a key feature that we introduced to make sure that certain critical actions can only be done when multiple admins verify this. And of course, end-to-end encryption and multi-factor authentication and all of these other standard things that you just got to do today to protect the data that we're holding for our customers.
The one that I love the most is the old Crimson Tide Captain's Missile Key analogy of the to eliminate rogue admins. I think that's because the other ones have kind of been there for decades at this point, at least since I was managing systems in the late 2000s the last time. But we didn't have the multi-admin verify at that time. I remember that one. And when I first heard about it a few years ago, I was like, Captain's Missile Key is really what that is. And if you think about Gene Hackman in the movie, he's trying to fire that thing because they don't have a complete message. So it's not necessarily a rogue admin, but a similar situation where you can have disgruntled employees, people that are in disagreement. You have to authenticate, you have to concur, you have to do all of those things. Processes need to be followed. Chain of command needs to be followed. Change configuration, change management needs to be followed before you can do that. So I love the fact that we're adding that. It's one of those things. I look at things like we used to do SnapLock for a whole bunch of different things, legal holds, malpractice lawsuits, all kinds of stuff, right? We had a disgruntled employee that was suing the company for wrongful termination. We needed to lock all of their data. And we couldn't even, as admins, we had the God mode, the keys to everything. We couldn't change the data inside those volumes. We could delete the volumes, but we couldn't manipulate the data that was inside of them. And that was a big legal thing. That made us really popular with law firms a long time ago. So all of that stuff still exists today. It's just being taken advantage of in the unique use case of ransomware.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't even have to be malicious, right? Human error is still one of the key reasons for data loss, right?
Yep.
So it's not even that you do something bad on purpose. You might just click on the wrong thing, right? And I'm exaggerating a little bit, just randomly clicking around, but errors happen. And so this is one way to make sure that human error does not become a business ending proposition. So you need to protect your data. You need to detect when there are attacks happening, right? And so it always has to be multiple layers, and we even have multiple layers within NetApp. We have autonomous ransomware protection built into ONTAP. We have had this for years, but we also have like Cloud Insights, for example, that can detect attacks that happen on more of a workload and user basis. So that's an additional layer of protection on top of what's already built into ONTAP. And then, of course, once something does happen, you need to be able to recover very, very quickly. So for that, you need the data to actually still be there, right? So you need your tamper-proof snapshots. You need to verify that where you want to pull your data from is actually working, the data integrity is actually ensured. And you also got to make sure that you're getting the right data back, not just the most current one. And so there are different tools within Snap Restore and BlueXP and other ways to do this very simply and quickly without wasting a bunch of time trying to restore data that's not even accurate or current or
Right.
complete.
Right.
So,
and that's not even covering the on-box stuff that we're doing for detection. Like, did we talk about the F policy and the engine that's natively on board there? Like that's all above and beyond even that kind of stuff. So you mentioned some at the very beginning of the show. The storage system is your last line of defense.
Yep.
Whether that's in the cloud or whether that's here, that stuff is running. So the autonomous ransomware protection uses a few different things. It actually learns. This is one of the ones that I wanted to deep dive on. I want to do a special show on it because it's so cool. It's so cool the way we're doing that. We're literally building an ML model of your behavior, of how you interact with your systems and access times and cold data versus hot data, and all of that stuff is being built in there, and a behavioral model is being built around that. So if anything varies from that, we're going to trigger a snapshot just in case, and alert somebody and go, hey, this looked kind of fishy. Is that you? That's basically, in a nutshell, what ARP is doing behind the scenes for you without any additional kind of effort on your part. All you got to do is turn it on, give it 30 days to learn.
And it's getting even better, right?
Yep.
Now, I'll cover that. I'll talk a little bit about some improvements in BlueXP.
Nice.
A new version of Snap Center, which is really, really good, with some key enhancements there, both on premises and in the public cloud. Talk a little bit about Keystone, our storage as a service offering in this context, and then some new cyber-resiliency features in the hyperscalers. And then after the CyRes session, so for those that think, I don't care about CyRes, which I would be surprised to hear, I also have a couple of surprises at the end as well, a couple of additional news.
Okay, I'll shut up then.
So no, please go ahead. So you talked about autonomous ransomware protection. We have had ML-based detection of threats for a long time. There was a certain learning period required, etc. So the next step is to power it with AI. And this is not AI washing. This is actually running on-box AI in the system, where the goal is to go to have the recall, which means actually detecting the threats, and precision, which means eliminating false positives and false negatives, to more than 99%. And so far, everything looks like we are far exceeding the 99%. So it's very, very high accurate. It's very fast, very quick, and it's simply built into the product. So that is key. So like you said, you just turn it on, and it will, help you have an additional layer of protection against ransomware. Another really critical thing here is that because the threat landscape changes all the time, and we're learning all the time about new threats and new angles, whether that is, corruption in headers, or whether it's partial file encryption versus full file encryption, which is harder to detect, and things like that. So the threat landscape changes all the time. So we're shifting to a model where you can update the model parameters without requiring a new version of ONTAP, without having to do a software update, without having to do a system reboot. So this can be updated automatically in the background, and always keeping your AI-driven ransomware detection within your enterprise storage systems current at all times, without having to manually go in there or have any kind of outages or anything like that. So that's a really, really cool improvement. And yeah, I think a special session on that would be a really great idea.
Absolutely.
So the other thing I want to talk about is BlueXP, right? I was talking about the different layers that you have in your infrastructure to detect and to protect and to recover from ransomware attacks. And so BlueXP ransomware protection, which is in preview now, is a really great way to have a very simple, workload-based view of your environment. So if you're thinking about, okay, I have like a production database, I have, certain, vSphere environments for my virtualized applications, things like that. The BlueXP has that kind of intelligence to look at your workload and tell you whether your workload is adequately protected. Can we make recommendations on, okay, hey, you should probably make a data protection step here, and here is the data protection policy we recommend. We can use machine learning to detect attacks. This is an additional layer on top of what autonomous ransomware protection with AI already does. So this is an additional layer on the workload level. It can help you respond automatically, like you said earlier, like taking snapshots, things like that. And also it can verify that your backups are actually working and complete before you start your restore workload. So it makes your entire, because this is a high stress environment, right? If you are suffering from an attack, you need to restore data, you're probably kind of stressed, I imagine. You're probably thinking your job is on the line, and it might be. So you want to have everything to be as easy and predictable and functional as possible. You don't want to waste hours trying to restore from a backup that's not even going to work.
Right.
And so we've adopted the NIST framework for that. We're following the cybersecurity framework and following the recommendations, which is what most of our customers are following as well.
We did have one question come in real quick from OG, who's a loyal Discord participant in our community. What are of that Obviously, we're going to do a deep dive on this in the future, OG. So I don't want to put Ingo too on the spot here, but are you aware? Have there been any sort of performance impacts with this new version? Again, knowing that it's still in tech preview, we're not really going to put it out there on systems until probably second half of this year. Is that right? When we're doing that,
definitely second half. For sure. Yes.
Yeah. So just with that in mind, is there any performance impacts that we're noticing? I know in the past with ARP, when it was just the ML learning, the behavior modeling, that it was almost a negligible impact.
Yeah, it might depend a little bit on how much work your system does, but we usually have plenty of CPU overhead, and this is mostly a CPU and memory bound effort. So for most of our customers, I don't think there will be any impact that they could actually be tell in their production workloads.
Yeah. OG, hang on to that one. Be sure to remind me and hold me to that one when we do the ARP session here in a few weeks.
Yeah, that's definitely a really great topip to.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk an hour about that one.
Days probably.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of our customers are switching to storage as a service for consumption of their system. So this is just a quick remark that ransomware recovery guarantee, which was when we rolled it out, the very first enterprise storage guarantee for ransomware recovery. And so that is now available as part of Keystone, so you can keep all your financial movements within the Keystone framework.
Nice. Check.
It's kind of like
it's like one of those things where we do this on our systems, but we're also doing it in the ways that you might want to consume our products.
Exactly.
I feel like that's more of we're doing it over here, but we're also doing it over here too.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we eliminate as many hurdles as possible for our customers to get these technologies and guarantees and these assurances. Yeah. Next, I want to talk about BlueXP Disaster Recovery. We pre-announced it earlier. It is now in GA, and I'll talk about this on the next couple of slides a little bit more. But this is really meant to be the easy button for your virtualized VMware workloads, so that you can very simply, very easily establish, templates for how you do and how you manage and how you monitor failover and failback scenarios for your virtualized workloads. So this is very specifically targeted at VMware, at vSphere based workloads, disaster recovery. The interesting thing here really is it's really about the ease of use. That is the key aspect for BlueXP Disaster Recovery. You simply consume it, right? It's not like a massive license cost or anything like that. It's about vSphere, both on premises and in the cloud, and I'll explain that a little bit more on the next slide. You can do non-disruptive failover and failback testing. Now, this is really interesting because I used to work a lot in customer environments, and I always got really nervous when we started failover testing. But we had to do it. A lot of customers just didn't want to do it because they were worried about breaking something. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the point, right? And so that's the thing is now with BlueXP Disaster Recovery, you can actually test failover and failback without disrupting your production workloads. So that's very, very important.
And just to recap, everybody, this is an announcement we made back at Insight back in October. You may, if you were there or if you watched the keynotes live stream, you may have seen Phoebe do a demo of this on the keynote stage. The announcement here is that it's now generally available here about, 6 months later. Here we are. You can now, it's now out there for everyone to take advantage of and use. I just wanted to throw that in there real quick, that this was the thing that you saw Phoebe do and us talk about it in the keynote back at Insight last year.
Absolutely. And it was just a the most simple disaster recovery that I've ever seen in my life. So that's really encouraging. Yeah, and so one thing that I want to say, so the version where you can fail over and fail back to the cloud is GA. We are also introducing the ability for our customers to fail over and fail back to and from another physical data center, and that is in preview now. So if customers want to test that, want to try it out, they can do that today.
We used to call this a cascade. I think we still do that. So when I was like, I would do a snap mirror to a secondary site, and then I would do a snap vault to a secondary system, and then certain volumes even got an additional destination into a snap locked volume for long-term archival purposes. And so if you look at this in the great span of how these things do, you can do it as a cascade, sort of linearly, or you can do it as a fan out and send it to multiple destinations, multiple backup, same backup going to multiple destinations if you want to do it that way. But yeah, this is, again, nothing really exciting other than the fact that it's in Blue XP. Like, again, stuff we've been doing for decades. This is why I love ONTAP so much, is because it continues, even though the industry continues to just evolve, the things that make ONTAP stay around and continue to be those bedrocks of functionality.
Yep, absolutely. So talking about this Snap Center, right, has been around for a very long time, but we keep, making massive improvements. So one is integration of tamper-proof snapshots into the Snap Center framework. So you can now just use the Snap Center interface to schedule your tamper-proof snapshots to make sure, as you talked about before, your snapshot data cannot be changed or deleted. SnapMirror Business Continuity is now supported for your DR environments. We have also extended all the management of your data protection for our first-party services. So that's Azure NetApp Files, as well as AWS FSx for NetApp ONTAP. And so we have already supported this previously for Cloud Volumes ONTAP. Now we also have our first-party services with AWS and Azure supported in Snap Center 5.0. Then for environments where customers have a large number of virtual machines that wanted to have more flexibility in how to apply Snap Center policies against their virtual machines, you can now essentially tag your machines or group of virtual machines with a specific tag and then apply policies against everything that has that tag on it. So this gives you just an incredible amount of fine-tuning and flexibility how you apply your Snap Center policies to ensure data protection in your environment.
Love it.
And then lastly, hey, Linux is still around. So, we have been safeguarding databases and applications running on Linux for a very long time, but we have now expanded our ability to protect Linux file systems in Snap Center. That's both on premises and in the cloud. So if you're running Linux, for example, on Cloud Volumes ONTAP, that's protected as well.
Beautiful. Snap Center is another one of those to be on the lookout for, guys, along with ARP, that we're going to be doing a deep dive on, considering I think we made a separate announcement about a month ago when Snap Center 5 came out, just that it was available. But we wanted to roll it into this because it's all part of that ransomware protection and cyber resilience package that we wanted to put out this week. But Snap Center 5, I believe it's Karthik that I wanted to get on here to go over all of the super deep, as geeky as possible details, going over all the moving parts of Snap Center 5. So stay tuned for that one.
Perfect. And then something that, so this came out a little bit earlier this year, but it kind of goes hand in hand with everything else I'm talking about today. So I wanted to bring it up. So for customers that are using Azure NetApp Files and they want to manage their own keys rather than using Microsoft managed keys, so you can now use customer managed keys or Microsoft managed keys. It's your preference. There's no impact to performance by doing that. So that's a design change that Azure has rolled out for Azure NetApp Files.
Beautiful.
And so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one, right? But we talked about actually using AI ops, right? And autonomous ransomware protection with AI is a great example for this, to combat the cyber threats that are now starting to leverage AI to attack you more effectively. So it's just going to be a bit of a battle there between leveraging AI for protection, while the baddies are also using AI to get better at what they're doing. So autonomous ransomware protection is a huge, huge feature in ONTAP, so I highly recommend all of our customers look at that. Blue XP is getting stronger and stronger and stronger all the time with new features and functionalities there as well. And a lot of the work that I hope that you've heard from me today is both on premises and in the cloud. Now, I've promised two more things.
Ooh.
So let me just get to the two more things here real quick. So on a storage grid, my favorite topic. I'm a big proponent of object storage. Some of you may remember that I used to cover storage grid, for many years. And so we have made dramatic improvement in 3 different areas for our object storage users. And one is security, making sure that, number one, the devices have not been altered from a boot sequence perspective, right? Securing the boot sequence. We now support local key management. So if you don't want to use a third-party or external key management system, you can just store your keys locally within Storage Grid. We have that. We also support HashiCorp Vault if you do want to use a third party. So that's just an additional third-party key management system we support, and of course, FIPS-ready TLS encryption as well. On the manageability side, we have made it easier to create individual policies that you can attach to a bucket. So this is just a finer granularity of the ability of really customizing the ILM policies to specific buckets. So this is a very, very fine, granularity. I'm just going to reuse the word for applying your ILM in a very easy way, just policy tags, very, much in line with what you know from Storage Grid. And then
is that on a per bucket basis? Is that how it's managed?
Yep.
You're tagging the bucket and the policy is adopted at the bucket level?
Yeah, so when we think just a few years back with Storage Grid, you did ILM policies essentially on a per site basis, or you could take your buckets and group them into multiple sites, even though it's the same physical location. So now you can really just go straight to the buckets.
Oh, beautiful. I remember that inheritance always being a point of contention and people having to scale certain ways in order to, get around that or work around that. The fact that we're going down a little more granular now, bravo. Well done, Duncan.
Yep, and so Duncan Moore and his team are incredible, doing incredible work there and have been for many years. And I think, again, it's always that balance between simplicity and customization.
Yeah.
So you have both, right? You can have very, very simple ILM policies, or you can really customize it. And then in the theme of simplicity, so we've also made it easier to simply mix, your choice of HDD and SSD nodes in a single site. So there were some restrictions previously in terms of the percentages of SSD versus HDD, and now this is just becoming much more easy, so our customers don't really have to think about it much. And then finally, the last thing is customers have been asking, hey, I don't really want to use some third-party S3 console. Can you just do your own? And so we have our own native S3 console, so our customers don't introduce another vendor into the mix.
Beautiful. So that was one surprise. Is there a second one?
Well, there is. This is probably the one thing that everybody has been waiting for. I don't know. But 30 terabyte drives. Yay!
It's about time, finally.
The best for last, right? So this is a huge deal, obviously, right? The 30 terabyte drives with a standard form factor. This isn't some kind of a custom form factor like some other people do. So this is becoming available for all EFF C-Series and ASA C-Series models. So now you can start at 122 terabytes and grow up to 88 petabyte in a single cluster. When I started in this industry, if you had told me one day we would have 88 petabyte in a single cluster, man, that would have just blown my mind. So it's a very simple math, even I can do it. 30 terabytes, it's double the size, double the capacity, meaning that you can reduce your rack space by half, right? You can cut your rack space by half, or the other way around, you can double your density in your rack space, and you can cut your power and cooling costs in half by using these higher capacity drive. So they're going to be shipping. We're expecting to ship them later this month.
Yep.
So they're just around the corner. And
you can order them now, from what I understand.
You can order them.
Is it March 12th or something?
March 11th. Yes.
March 11th. That's right.
Yep.
Next week. So you'll be able to place your orders next week. Call your reps. Get them in there. They'll be shipping out by the end of the month.
Today. So code you can get today. You can order them next week, and then receive them a couple of weeks after that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think about the C250 I've got back here in the rack, and I'm going a little bit gaga because I know configured with all of the automatic stuff, it gives me about 265 terabytes with the 15 terabyte drives.
So you double that.
Double that.
Double that.
Still in the same 2U footprint.
Without needing more power, more cooling, more space.
Or simply hang an NS224 shelf with 30 terabyte drives off of it and get even more in 4U. Or you've got the 400s or the 800s with the embedded drives if you want those as well. So capacity, not an issue anymore now that we're past that.
Right, that's what I had for you today, Nick.
That's it. Ingo, you rock, man. And right on the hour, look at you. Fade back, jump shot, nailed it. Perfect. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for being a part of the show. And thanks for running us down through that. I've got a few closing thoughts. Anything else you want to leave the audience with before we get out of here?
Well, I think the only thing I can say is be prepared for more, right? Yeah. So the world is moving quickly, whether it's AI or cyber resilience or what we're doing, elsewhere. There's a lot of really exciting stuff coming from NetApp, and just kind of stay tuned.
Yeah, absolutely. Ingo, thank you again so much for being here with us today and for running us through all of yesterday's announcements. Guys, this will be up on YouTube. If you didn't get to watch the whole thing, you can go back and watch it on demand there as soon as we're done here. And be sure to tune in. Make sure you subscribe, follow whatever venue, whether it's LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitch, wherever you'd like to watch. Every Wednesday, we are live here at 10 a.m. Pacific time. On-demand recordings always available also on YouTube. Ingo, thank you so much, my friend. And until next time, we'll see you again. All right, take care, man. Guys, that is it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. A few little notes here for us. If you haven't joined us yet, jump into Discord. We'll be continuing the conversation over there, netappdiscord.com or discord.gg/netapp, whichever you'd prefer. You can find a lot of our experts in there if you had some follow-up questions. I'm going to be setting up over the next couple of weeks some follow-on conversations from everything that we announced this week, a lot of the things that Ingo just went over. So keep an eye out for AIPod, keep an eye out for ARP discussions using some of the new AI technology, as well as we're going to get into Snap Center. We're going to talk about backup. Good old backup. Yes, we are going to deep dive onto that one. So there's 3 right there we're going to be looking at doing in the next couple of months. So make sure you're following us everywhere. Make sure you're in the Discord. That's where we put out all the announcements and the alerts and everything for any upcoming shows. Make sure you subscribe here on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. Come follow me over on TikTok. I have a lot of fun over there as well. So any of that kind of stuff, follow us all the places. But until next time, take care.